This podcast is brought to you by Photogrammetry.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Your Broadway World podcast. Today, I'm very excited because I've I'm still pitching myself for this. We have Bradley Pierce, who played Chip in the Beauty and the Beast, the original Beauty and the Beast, and I I blank on his actual name, but I always call him the Monkey Kid in Jumanji.
Yeah, Peter Shepard was that
Peter
character's
Shepard.
name.
Thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome. Yeah, that was another great fun role.
Yeah. So let's welcome him because it's like I said, I'm pitching myself. I cannot believe the turn of events of how you and I met.
Yeah, we happen to have some friends in common, I guess.
Yeah. I never thought in Rose Emanuel's live of all things.
Yeah, she and I have known each other for years now. We met on a friend's project out here. She was actually, I believe she was directing the project, and
Mhm.
another friend of mine was a part of it. And we've stayed in contact, and yeah, it's been a long time, but
Mhm.
yeah.
So I wanted to start off with asking about like your early beginnings. You started acting at 6 years old. I did my research, and what drew you into the entertainment industry at such a young age?
Well, I knew it was something I wanted to do, just from seeing it on, seeing it on TV. I wanted to. It was Nickelodeon that really sold me. I wanted to be on Nickelodeon. It's like that was what little me wanted to do at like 5 and 6, as I was starting to watch some of that stuff. And I was lucky in that my family owned a restaurant that was up near a lake called Saguaro Lake in Arizona, and a lot of filming happened around that area. And one day when I was helping out, just delivering silverware and bread to tables, because if you don't keep 6-year-old boys busy, they get into trouble. um, and I caught the attention of a group of producers that were there from a Fox location shoot or location scout. And they asked my mom, they said, have you ever thought about putting him into acting? Because he's really precocious, he presents himself well, he communicates well. And my mom expressed that it was something I was interested in, but she didn't really know how to do anything like that. And so they gave her some information about finding an agent and headshots and what's expected. And we gave it a shot. We came out here to California for what we thought was going to be 3 days. We were going to meet with some agents on the first day, and then we were going to go to Disneyland on the second day, and then some sightseeing and go home on the third. But one of the agents that we met with had enough confidence in me that my mom decided we would stay out here for a while and give it like a real legitimate shot. And not too long after that, I booked a commercial. And then a little while after that, another commercial. And it sort of just ballooned from there. And it was a really just a lot of things had to line up, and I had to get very lucky. And I was lucky enough also to have the support of my mom and my grandma, who both helped me, follow this dream of mine.
Assume around that time, that's also when you booked Beauty and the Beast Chip, correct? That around that
Uh,
time?
yeah, that was, I'd been acting for about a year and a half when I booked Beauty and the Beast. I started. It would have been 87, no 88 when I started, and so we did. I started Beauty and the Beast in near the end of '89. I think it was late 1989 that we started production on that, or at least my part got included in the production of that.
Right.
So I'd been acting for about a year and a half. At that point, I was already in the Screen Actors Guild. I was a member of the union. I'd gotten there through other voiceover work and stuff before that. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast was my first really big thing. And it was about a year and a half, almost 2 years into my career, if you could call it that, at that point.
And like when you like talk to people, like do they like clock that you were Chip, or it's like, is it something you have to bring up?
Generally, that's something that that's not what people recognize me for, unless I'm at an event where there, are actors.
Yeah.
Because then they'll be like, oh, yeah, they can associate it. But it's usually Jumanji that I get recognized for.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't really look like a teacup, and I don't really sound like one either anymore.
Right.
Whereas with Jumanji and some of the other on-camera stuff that I did, or even my later voiceover roles, right now I'm a little bit hoarse. I've got some congestion going on, but I usually sound a little bit lighter and a little bit closer to like Flounder when I did that for the animated series, or Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. Those were also those I get recognized for more because that was a little bit later. My voice had started to shift a little bit, and so I can still get into those registers. And so sometimes I get recognized by voice for those roles, but not usually for Chip.
Well, I mean, speaking of Peter, your character Peter, he goes through a big transformation with prosthetics, and so I had a friend ask me, and some of the viewers want to know too, how long did that process take?
Well, there was a few stages of the makeup. There was one that was just a little nose bridge right at the beginning. Well, the first was just hands, and they would literally just glue hair on and sort of dirty up my nails a little bit, and that was very quick. Once it got to that nose piece, that was probably 45 minutes to an hour of application for that one. The next phase was from my cheeks up. There was a nose, there was a brow line, and that glued onto a wig that I was wearing. Give me bigger, more hair. And that was probably just under 2 hours for that process. But then for the full makeup that I wore for the majority of that was about 3.5 hours of application time every day. And that went from below my jaw all the way up over my cheeks and across my nose. Then there was a brow piece that attached to, I was wearing a full body, it buttoned to my pants suit, basically, that had some padding to sort of hunch my shoulders forward. And then obviously on the arms, it was furry, and it had the gloves, and the hood came up and had the big ears on it. And so the brow piece would have to get adhered to that as well to blend that out. So that was about 3.5 hours of application every day for that. And there was supposed to be even one more stage beyond that. That was actually going to be worn by a character suit performer, and it was an animatronic jaw. It was supposed to move and talk, but they couldn't quite get the emotion they wanted out of it. So I ended up doing, I believe it was something like 53 days in that in the full makeup. So a lot of time spent in a makeup chair over the course of that shoot.
Yeah, and I imagine for a young kid that with it being that long, it can get a little like annoying for little kids sit still for that
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. It took a lot of practice to get me to sit still. We would take breaks. I'd get up and get to stretch and get the wiggles out every, you know, 45 minutes or so. It would also let them sort of relax their hands because there was two makeup artists usually working on me at
Mm.
that point. Charles Poilier, who was the key makeup artist, and Doug Morrow, who was the assistant, who was also doing a bunch of other projects at the time.
Mm.
But the two of them would also be taking breaks. And at one point, fairly early on in the process, we put a TV up on the wall behind me so I could watch it in the mirror. So it gave me something to do to keep me occupied so I didn't wiggle
Mm.
so much.
Yeah.
And it also was how I did some of my schooling because I'm required to do a certain number of hours of schooling each day on set.
Mm.
And when I'm spending 3.5 hours in makeup, I also had to use that time for school. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do both. So I would watch, videos of classic Shakespeare plays or of history dramas or whatever, and then write reports on those. And that was how I was doing some of my school, was
Mm.
literally just watching, Roots or Glory or, a History Channel documentary on Waterloo or, something of educational value, I guess.
Mm.
And then we also watched the entire Planet of the Apes series because you have to do that when you're getting into monkey makeup.
I mean, oh, obviously, you have to,
Yeah.
obviously.
This week only, rock bottom pricing at Boger Cabinetry. That's an additional 20% off our already unbelievable pricing to transform your kitchen, bath, or office. If you need cabinets, you need Boger Cabinetry. Get inspired at bogercabinetry.com.
And then I wanted to touch light on a really amazing, cool thing, and I'm kind of jealous. You worked with Robin Williams on Jumanji.
I
What was
did.
that like?
He is absolutely as incredible as anyone has ever described him to you, I'm sure. I've started saying lately when people ask me this question, because I do get it quite a bit, is I don't know for sure that all of the details of the stories you've heard about him being an incredible human are true, but I can tell you that I have believed most of them that I've heard.
Mm.
He was one of those people that was so much larger than life and such a generous and kind and warm person that I think the stories about him, even though they border on legend, they all feel true.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
He was very protective of everybody. He knew how important his presence was to everyone, and he knew that he had a lot of responsibility in that as well, which I'm sure weighed on him, but he carried it beautifully. He took especially good care of Kirsten and I. He was very protective of the kids. He made sure that everything was as good as it could be on what could have been some challenging days. And he took care of everybody, not just in that protective sense, but also by making the mood light, by being those amazing, energetic characters that he is. And it made days that would have been incredibly long and stressful and tiring, which they still were, but they were made so much more bearable by the fact that he was there. It was really wonderful working with him. I wish I could do it as an adult. I wish I could have continued to communicate with him because the way that I interacted with him as a 12-year-old or as a 13-year-old is completely different than the way I would have interacted as an adult, because I did ask him questions about acting. We did talk about the craft and how he has gotten so good at it and what is important and all of those things. And he was generous with his knowledge. But I would have asked different questions as an adult,
Yeah.
So.
Do you have any favorite behind the scenes working on Jumanji with him?
Um, one of my favorite stories, and it leans back into that protective thing that he carried. It was going to be our last day in the wave tank. For the monsoon scene, they actually built the entire bottom floor of the house and some of the second floor in a wave tank at the University of British Columbia. And it had been a very long, I think 2 weeks we had spent in the water at that point. And they needed one more shot, and it would have required a turnaround and a change to the setup, but they needed one more shot.
Mm.
And it would have put us into overtime, which happens very, very rarely for kids on a set. But it would have happened for Kirsten and I. And everybody was tired. And he's literally stood up. He said, "No, we're done. We're done for the day. We're going to wrap it up. We'll call it." And having to then have this location for an extra week or whatever it is, because again, we were supposed to be leaving that location, plus another day of work with 150 people on a crew, plus all of the extra safety and tech that was involved in that scene specifically. We were talking about probably a $300,000 decision not to get that second shot. But he did it because it was what was right and what everybody needed. He was the only one that could have spoken up. I mean, even if Joe, the director, had been equally as exhausted, nobody would have spoken up because, again, this could be a $500,000 choice.
Yeah.
But Robin could, and Robin did. And that was an amazing time that he stepped up. That was a great behind-the-scenes moment, I think.
Yeah. I mean, because I always pictured pictured something like that of like, you do what Robin wants because it's Robin Williams. You don't say no to Robin Williams.
Yeah, and again, he knew that people viewed him that way. He knew that people cared for him in that way and respected him in that way. And so he went above and beyond to do what was right for everybody. And that was really a wonderful, wonderful part of who he was.
I wanted to switch ties a little bit, and I wanted to ask, since you talked about your favorite behind the scenes moments, Jumanji, do you have any for Beauty and the Beast?
I do. Most of Beauty and the Beast was recorded individually, so that I don't really have any great moments that I remember from interacting with other actors. I mean, I would see them occasionally coming in or out of a session or vice versa, but some of my greatest memories from that were just being in the booth, and the fact that the character started out as a one-line character. Chip only had one line at the beginning. It was, "Mama, there's a girl in the castle." And they grew the character and they kept adding more. But as they were adding more, I was in the booth with the voice director, and the writers were usually in the engineer's booth on the other side of the wall. And so my interactions with the voice director and with the people in the booth ended up being built into the character and into the movie. One of my favorites is I had gone out to visit my uncle in Arizona, and he taught me how to shoot water through my teeth. So I came back and I was super excited about this new thing that I learned, and so I wanted to show it off in the voice booth. So I took a big old sip of water, and I shot it through my teeth right in front of the $3,000 microphone. And I said, "You want to see me do a trick?" And I shot the water through my teeth. So they added, "Want to see me do a trick?" which was the thing I said right before I shot the water through my teeth. And that's where they added it to the bubbles. They added the shooting the water through the teeth to the bathtub scene. And so that one little moment that just happened became a part of that character. And that was really cool. And there was other little moments like that. But now when I watch that movie and I go back to it, I remember those moments. And I remember where I was as a kid and what transpired and how those things came about. It was really an amazing experience.
And not to mention because you also got to like I'm not gonna put light to this, I'm not gonna say this lightly. Like Angela Lansbury was your mother in Beauty and the Beast. Your mother. Like what?
She's mama, and she always will be. I run into her a few other times at press events or just at events where we happen to have crossed paths. And again, just one of those connections to this legendary warmth, this amazingly comforting person. Just being around her feels like a hug. You know, it's she was also an amazing human. Again, I didn't get to work with her much, but we did share a connection as a result of Beauty and the Beast. So when we came into each other's realm occasionally, it was really wonderful to have that connection.
That's like one of my favorite lines is she's off where Mrs. Potts says off to the cupboard with you now, Chip, and your character goes, but I'm not even tired. That I feel like that's just like the most heartwarming thing ever.
Yeah, there's again so much of those characters, and that was where the real Disney magic of that era came from, was the ability for Disney to utilize the humans and the actors that were voicing the roles in collaboration with the writers, in collaboration with the animators, to create true characters with depth, with connection, with that reality to them that really is relatable and connects people to a story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That begs the question of like, what do you feel about the remakes of those movies that you've done? Like there was the Jumanji ones and the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Well, I think in every case, the original art stands separately from the remakes. And so, like for Jumanji, as an example, those movies are not the original Jumanji.
Yeah.
But they're not trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jack Black, it's the Rock, it's Kevin Hart, it's Karen Gillan. Like, when you hear that those four actors are in a summer blockbuster, you know certain things. You know there's going to be, you know, some jokes aimed towards 12-year-old boys, you know, stuff about farts and whatever. You know, the Rock's going to do that thing he does with his eyebrow. You know, that Jack Black is going to do an amazing performance in a character that is completely ridiculous. You know, Karen Gillan is going to kick some ass. It's what she does. But it's not Jumanji. It's connected, but it's not what we did.
But it's like separate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Same with with Beauty and the Beast.
But the difference with Beauty and the Beast, because it is a retelling of the same story, it's a retelling of the exact same story, but it's by different artists in a different way. I appreciated it for everything that it was. It was, in a lot of ways, the unfinished version or the finished version of what we started with the original, because there were pieces that didn't make the, you know, final cut of the animated film, Human Again, among others, that were written and intended to be a part of that didn't make it. So it made it into the re-release, and it was on Broadway, and there were other songs that were added to the Broadway version, which again stands on its own. It's not the same art. It's different. It's new. And it delivers what it promises. It brings you into that story in a different way. And with the live action, there's so much more connection for a lot of people with a human character, with a live action person. And they did a great job of marrying the Broadway style with a live action film with the music from the original, and it all tied together in a really beautiful way that I think was both very different from, but also a love letter to the project that I was a part of in 1991.
Yeah. And coming from a theater podcast and a theater lover myself, I did really appreciate them adding Evermore. That's all.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know that that was the best song out of the Broadway, out of the other Broadway songs to have added, but I did really enjoy it. I thought that
Yeah.
it was really well done. I loved all the performances in it. I loved that they leaned LeFou a little bit more, again, into the live action,
Yeah.
a little more into his attraction to Gaston.
hmm
I love that they sort of allowed that to be a little more present in the
Yeah.
storytelling.
Because like in the original, you can see it, but like it's not like out
Exactly.
there.
And I think too that part of that was the timing of it. I think early 90s there was awareness
Yeah.
of the LGBTQ community, and it was still something that was sort of on the outskirts and not really talked about in mainstream. So I think that they nodded to it as much as they could have
Yeah.
in the early 90s without raising too many eyebrows.
Mhm.
And so seeing that acknowledged and sort of leaned into in a more early 2000s kind of way, I think was really wonderful to see.
Yeah. Although I will say, no shade to Josh Gad, he was wonderful. But I kept picturing Olaf every time that he sang. I kept picturing the snowman dressed as LeFou.
That's funny. Yeah, I could see that. Although I still think of Josh Gad as Book of Mormon. That's still where I go when I hear his voice, when I hear him sing specifically. And yes, I love Olaf and I love warm hugs, so I get that too. But I think because I was going back to Elder Cunningham,
Mhm.
I think that works as LeFou. It's just
Yeah.
it's the same
Yeah.
type of character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of theater, since you brought it up, what's your favorite musical?
Favorite musical. I mentioned Book of Mormon. That's definitely one of the top on my list. Mostly because it really impressed me. It was I was expecting it to be funny. I knew it was, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, so I was like, okay, cool, it's gonna be funny. But I did not expect it to be as good of a theatrical production as it is. The choreography is phenomenal. The storytelling is amazing. The costumes are incredible. Just as a theatrical piece, top to bottom, that's an amazingly put together show. My favorite Disney is probably Lion King. I love the use of so many different kinds of performance mediums, with the puppetry, with the makeup, with the mask work, and how it ties into the cultures that were part of the storytelling for the original Lion King. So that's another amazing one, probably one of my top shows. And trying to think like of a classic that I really like. I think I'd have to go probably with Les Mis or Phantom. I know technically we're talking operas, not musicals, but
I love Phantom.
yeah,
I love Phantom. I
Phantom's
love
a great show.
Yeah, yeah. And my other favorite is, and I have a tattoo. It's a line from the show. It says, "Besides, it's not like anyone knows who they are anyway." And it's from Jagged Little Pill, the musical.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that was another good show.
yeah.
Yeah,
I really, really enjoyed Hadestown too.
haven't seen it yet.
Love it. I saw the tour. Loved it. Lion King was amazing. I cried like 7,000 times.
Yeah, I've seen Lion King probably half a dozen times.
Yeah. Which when you said that was not one of your favorites, I was like interesting coming from the Beauty and the Beast guy.
Yeah, well, Beauty and the Beast is an amazing show. But I think that I love the use of visuals in the Lion King's stage production because it feels like you're in the animation. Whereas Beauty and the Beast feels like you're watching a live action representation of the animation. It's just a slightly different feel to it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, I had a great time. Thank
I
you.
had an amazing time.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If anybody who is listening or watching wants to follow me, all of my social media is at Mr. Bradley Pierce. It's MR and then my full name. And I've got my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things as that social. And yeah, check that out and we'll see you there.
Yeah. I will leave all his links down below. And again, thank you, Riley, so much for coming on and being so sweet and like following me everywhere.
Of course, thank you.
And
have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and I will see you Eternal Stars later. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, everybody.